President Obama mentioned making voting mandatory in the U.S. this week, and now he's feeling the backlash. Good evening, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Shale Remien. Thanks for joining us. The president made the comments on Wednesday saying that requiring everyone to vote would help offset big spending in elections. He has since backed off those comments, saying that any possible change would happen way down the road. But KMUH's Michael Down is in the studio with a look at what that could mean for mid-Missouri. Graffiti, some call it art, others feel it's simply vandalism. Either way, it's becoming more and more common in Columbia. Today, along Columbia police say they've seen 4 new cases. KMUH's Phil Bergman is live downtown with a look at how some business owners feel. Vice President Joe Biden calls domestic violence a, quote, public health epidemic. And Penn State students protest what they call rape culture on campus. Brianna Stubler has those stories and more in your first name. Medical students from across the country participated in an annual tradition this morning. KMUH's Chris Gothner is in the studio to tell us how graduating MU Med students figured out the next step in their careers. Dr. Speck also said they're tentatively working to plan a viewing of the 2017 eclipse at Faurot Field. But a new study shows getting older may not be so bad. President Obama is discussing mandatory voting in the U.S. Find out what mid-Missouri residents think about the controversial statement. That's after the break. Obama recently discussed the benefits of making voting in America mandatory. He says mandatory voting could change how money is spent in campaigns. Just over 1/3 of people voted in the U.S. during 2014 midterm elections. On our Facebook page, we asked you if voting in the U.S. should be mandatory, and most responded with a resounding no. Lisa says voting is a right and a privilege. Government already has too much control of our daily lives as it is. Joe says, I don't think it's a good idea, but not because voting isn't important. I think it's a bad idea because uninformed/underinformed voters will haphazardly and blindly cast votes and potentially ruin the path to a better America. But not all were against mandatory voting. Catherine says incentives might help. She says, I would love for there to be mandatory voting, or how about a tax break or incentive for voting?
Brown shooting.
But an investigation found it didn't happen that way at all. We'll have the latest developments at 6. Best weather for spring break, but you know, it's in the 60s, high 60s for Tuesday, so we can't necessarily complain.